Welcome, everybody, and thank you very much, Lisette and the Center for Latin American Studies. It's a pleasure, it's a happiness for an anthropologist to present a movie, because it's beautiful to invite your friends and your colleagues to the movies. And as this wanted to be a real film, a real movie, I'm not going to do the spoiler and to tell you who is the hero, who is the bad one. You will see by yourself. I would like just to introduce very briefly myself and the movie you are going to see. My name is Francisco Cruces. I am visiting professor, visiting scholar at the Department of Anthropology here in Berkeley, and I research on cities and city culture. What you are going to see is in a way, is the result of an impossibility, which is the effort to tell about the city, about three cities at the same time, from the little stories that we have shared with people that talk about many things you will see, and try to make sense of how do they live, which is the craft of an anthropologist, to say the stories of other people and to make sense of them. So, as I said, I'm not going to make the spoiler, but I wanted to comment two main things about the movie. First one is the power of the stories that I find when I was already working, doing fieldwork with these people that appear in the movie. And at a certain point, I decided, well, these things that seem irrelevant or little, but have so much meaning, and they are so well told by themselves, that I would prefer that they who make the storytelling. And that's the result of this movie. We began with Madrid, we then moved to Mexico, and to Montevideo. And so it's like a conversation, and it's a very homey movie. It's done without money, with a lot of effort and a lot of happiness. It was a lot of fun. And it was fun because the houses of the people were lovely, were so beautiful. And they spoke about them with such a artistry, so much craft, that this made the movie to make them itself. It was very easy to make. So these are the points that lead us to do it as it has been done. And I just let you with the movie, and there will be some comments at the end, those who want to stay with me and to decipher the stories together. Thank you. Thank you so much for the patience and the hearing. And as I said at the beginning, I was not going to say the spoiler, because at the end is Carla who gives a little bit the conclusion of the thing, and he says it's important that things have a meaning, and our home is the place where different parts of ourselves try to make a whole, to make meaning. And the beautiful thing of doing ethnography with a movie and 20 persons is that you have the voices of the 20 here, and I would not add much to this, so I just prefer to let you your comments, reactions, and we can try to put together a little bit how did you react and hear what they are trying to share with us. Did you like it?
Yeah.
Because it wanted to to be a movie. I said at the beginning, it is a movie. It is something that we began to do with a work in progress, who was a research process about the living in the city in Madrid, and the idea was to have another version of what is the genre of the urban symphony. That you may know that there are films that try to make the story of the city, how the city is, how living in the city is. And we felt that we were missing something important, which was intimacy, was the city from the inside, and the feeling that the most important things in our cities are happening in these little infraordinary things, like a dog putting its face or his face or her face, I don't know, in a little hole in the door, or these little things that people collection and that make the emotion or the affect in their stories. So the challenge was how to make a discourse on what's going on now in Madrid and in Mexico and also in Montevideo together from the inside. That's the reason that we call it an indoor symphony. So it does not present the city as a place with noise, with traffic, with jams, with a place of production, a place of machines, but it rather tried to explore together with all these people what does it mean to live in a city today from this more inner point of view. This was the idea.
I have a question about kind of general approach. I really like the film, and I understood you're an anthropologist, but you were mentioning that the movie is somehow about how things have value. And I was thinking about this discourse of the social life of things in Atadurai, and people have talked about material culture and kind of like the biographies of objects. But at the same time, the film is only about people. So we never see those objects that are being discussed, and we rarely see the spaces that the people talk about. There's this initial sequence at the beginning where you like people are pointing to the spaces, but we don't really get to see them. Mm-hmm. And then at the end, what this woman is describing the objects that belong to her father, we never get to see the objects. They are only described, but we don't get to see them. So I wonder.
Well, you see some. You see some.
But the main, I think, like the focus is on people and not on the objects. So I wonder if this, why this decision was made, and then at the same time, if this kind of the same different stories could be told if you put an emphasis on non-human agents, and if actually things were the ones telling the stories instead of people. And that obviously would be a different project, but I wonder like how does that fit? How this idea of putting emphasis on things, but as told by people, will change as you did the other, and kind of the opposite.
No, great question. Thank you so much. That's something we worked in the process of doing the movie, because we were already making research or doing research. When we began, we decided we want to have this in image, and the way was through workshops, because what I wanted to avoid it was to be a kind of big brother in someone else's place. I mean, the idea is not to show the things that we normally don't see, because precisely this is what we are criticizing and discussing very much, that the intimacy is broken by this way of putting the things. And so the proposal was different, was collaborative workshops for sharing stories, mostly stories, but we also shared activities, like for example, there was a workshop on personal objects, and everyone brought a personal object to the workshop, and so we could exchange through the object or just the story of this object. And only then is that we decided to go to some of the houses with some of the best storytellers or the people who were more open to show things inside. And the task was open also. It was just show us what you consider better. So, for example, this woman who is with the daughter and the cat on the bed, they chose the bed because the bed was at the very center of the house. So there is an object there that they had selected for the showing, you know. And there are several of these choices that they did. But the idea was also to show that the agency of the objects is, at the end, is a part of our own agency. There are objects with stories. You cannot separate. It's an intermingle or an entanglement of affects, gestures, persons, people, actions, and spaces. And this is what we wanted to show, not singularizing only on the objects. On the other hand, we found that it was very interesting to show first the stories and then to show some of the objects, because then is when the audience or the spectator want to see. I want to see more, show me more. And this was an idea of Jorge, who is the cameraman, because I don't have ideas of this kind. I was the musician in the team and the interviewer, but he, who is the one with the camera, said, well, we are not going to show it everything from the very beginning. We are going to create some expectation of what are we seeing. That's the reason I appear with them, looking at something that the audience cannot yet see. I don't know if I am answering partially. On the other hand, I am a dinosaur. I mean, I am a humanist dinosaur. I am not a post-humanist researcher of the agency of objects. So I also was a little bit uncomfortable with the idea of doing a movie on assemblages, which sounds like a kind of industrial metaphor of what there is there. And I find much more comfortable with a traditional sociological interactionist definition of this situation as an encounter. And it was the encounter, it was really meaningful, when you find that someone is telling you something which for him or for her is central in their lives. And in this encounter, it was the unit for doing the movie.
How did you find the people for the project?
They found themselves. I mean, I made the call for this kind of workshops that were a lot of fun, I can tell you. For example, in one case, we did a competition of ugliness. It was telling how do you cope with ugliness in your own home. So there was discussions about making up. Making up is the makeup. This workshop was wonderful because there was people in Montevideo and women that considered that the makeup, it was a bad thing, and other was very pro makeup. So it was very lively. So the point it was to propose some kind of activity, a joint activity for people willing to explore together. And with this proposal, most of the people gather in some of the cultural labs in the cities. In Madrid is a Media Lab, Prado, who is a tech culture lab with a kind of young people interested in technological, cultural things, and they just came and shared. And after that is that only with those who wanted to go a little further in the storytelling, we proposed to make the recording at home. This was the process.
I was wondering, was the photographer an anthropologist in your study also? I mean, he's part of your...
Yes, he is a visual anthropologist. And the idea is not to separate the visual document from the research notion we were trying to do, but that it was a way of doing ethnography with a camera. So but on the other hand, there are things that you cannot put in the movie. You have to throw a lot of beautiful things that were not possible to do in the montage. For example, some of the little stories they say here, you know the rest of the story, and it's like the point of the iceberg, you know. In the case of the woman with two girls, the point about the bed is, among other things, that she had some risky pregnancies. So there was a relation with the bed from the very beginning, even before the two daughters were there. So it's a beautiful thing because you have much more information that you can put in the movie, but you want to make something that can be understood by someone without this kind of background. But the book will come soon, I hope. It's gonna be issued within 1 year, I think, and the title will be Minimal Stories.
Why those 3 cities?
In part it was opportunity because we were very poor, as we remain being, and we had to make it easy. And Jorge direct a festival, a film festival in Mexico once a year. And by the way, he's now going to the festival now in Mexico. And so for me it was easy because I had been living there and I had been studying there to have a couple of weeks. And we didn't have much time, you know. It was a lot of time pressure to make all the shooting of the movie in a couple of weeks in every one of the cities. And Montevideo, it was the same. One of the members of my team, I did not say anything about the team. This is important. There is no way today to make something about cities alone. I mean, by yourself, you don't see the city, you don't have an image of what's going on. So we have been working in a team of like 10 people, and these books that I brought are precisely what we have been doing together these last 10 years, is trying to see the city, to understand it from different points of view. So one of our colleagues were from Mexico and one other was working in Montevideo. So we had someone to prepare the workshops, etc. And also they are very much alike in an architectonic way. Sometimes you get confused when you are in a Mexican patio or when you are in a modernist area of Montevideo or Ciudad Vieja. And this was interesting also to make a kind of visual Latin texture. You know? That's the reason also I wrote the music from a Cuban team, which is La Última Noche que Pasé Contigo, which is a bolero, and it's remade so it can give a kind of common flavor, Latin flavor to the 3 cities together.
But even though you did that, it has a very universal feeling to it. I think you could have done it in any city, you know, Detroit, Toronto, and probably.
What is your city? What's your city?
Where am I? I live here in Berkeley.
Here. But your comment makes me happy because I want it to be universal. I mean, I didn't want it to be too Latin or too, because our topic, or my topic of research, is the metropolization of intimacy. I mean, something that I said to some people in Montevideo, for example, the young woman, many of the problems were exactly the same than the same woman in Madrid. And so that's the reason why we decided how to montage, made the montage of this, we did not separate the three cities because we were not doing a kind of album for a tourist agency to know Madrid or to know Mexico, but rather to mix different kind of discourses and situations. And
Because I could relate to a lot of the stories. Which makes it universal, I think.
That's wonderful. What part of the story is
Well,
the club of those who live alone, or those
no.
who have the
I would
burden of
I would
memory?
love to live alone. Well, the woman who was clearing out the houses, I cleared out my mother's house in February. And the woman who cleans the bathroom, I'm a clean freak, so I'm really into keeping my house in order and clean, and so I could relate to a lot of the things in the story.
Oh, that's great, because this is also what happened during the process of research in the workshops, that people began to tell their own stories, and most of the other people are interested in them because they feel that they have a kind of universality. And in my case, it was exactly the same. When I did this interview with the girl who has the shirt of her father, well, she had done it 2 months before, the dismounting of the house of the father, but I had done this 6 months before. And I was completely moved. I mean, I wanted to talk with her about the experience, because it's a once in a life experience that it really marked you very much, to discover that you have the past of your father on top of you. And she was able to decipher and to express so well what I was feeling, what I had experienced so briefly before. And for me, theoretically, this is the most interesting point about personal stories, or personal memories, or these little minimal stories, which they are very much universal. And at the same time, we feel that this is our way to put ourselves in a public conversation. So I think this is the strength and the interest of the movie. The stories are very good, because they are very well told by the storytellers. And there is an expression in poetic theory which is precisely poetic justice. The notion of any story having justice, poetic justice, which is that it's wrong, that it has a good ending. And some of these stories are incredible in this sense. The first time that I listened to the story of the girl who made drawings with her signature, designs inside the closet. And at a certain point, she arrives at the first closet he had done. It looks like a Borges tale. It could be a tale of Borges or Cortázar, but there are many in the research. Or this guy who tell that he founded this club for the people, the singles club, and he's exposed by the club. And he, for a moment, you can see he's like suffering of telling this closure, but the closure is beautiful and it makes sense. It has something to learn about how life is surprising, and it exceeds completely your expectations. And that's why I put this guy at the beginning saying this thing, that I thought I was going to have a wife and 3 children, etc., but life didn't go this way. So, well.
I had a question about the wonderful array of different narratives of intimacy, and watching the film, it's narratives of loss, narratives of inhabiting the home, and one of the things that I was wondering, and maybe I may have missed it, but I'm wondering whether romantic intimacy and narratives of kind of romance, whether there was material kind of that you had that you decided not to put into film, whether that's something that people tended not to share in the workshop. So I just wanted to,
I did not make such an emphasis, neither in the workshops, neither in the movie. Sometimes it appeared, but a little bit in the sidelines, as also the stories about resilience and pain, which is very central also of what a home is, the place where you cure of your sickness and your losses. But I always thought that this took me to directions that it wasn't exactly the direction I wanted to explore, precisely because they are so central in public discourse about intimacy, which is romantic love in the one hand, and pain and loss and injustice, etc., in the other. But all the other little things in between are so important. For example, I went to this Beatriz interview, which is the woman, the big woman with the shirt of the father. She's a lesbian, and she has a lesbian couple, and I know it. They are a couple living together, and I was expecting a little bit that they were going to explore this. But this was not the topic she wanted to go. She wanted to go on the lost father, etc. And so the research process was very open to little things that we didn't realize in advance important for intimacy, but then they were appealing there, and we just follow the rabbit, You saw the rabbit, you follow it. And this was very interesting. Okay, I hope you have enjoyed as I did. Okay, the movie is on the web if you are interested in spreading and showing it to some others. Thank you so much.